advantages of using scanners was that I could upload my magazine front cover, double page spread and content page. This was useful as I could have them on screen and copy the layouts that I have chosen to use. Also, another advantage to this was that I could scan in pictures that I wished to pastiche, such as the magazine front cover from Q. This enabled me to pick out the colours that I wanted to use, such as the red. I was able to get the exact same red font that was used on the front cover of the Q magazine. Also used Canva Studio as well. This was very useful as I can show how I made things such as the main masthead that I had added a lot of effects such as a drop shadow. This allowed me to show how I did it. However, a disadvantage to using Cam Studio was sometimes it crashed and was not very reliable. I also used Bubbleless 2.0 Tim O'Reilly 2004. He said Web 2 was interactive. To produce mind maps and brainstorms of the different elements that were to go into my magazine. These were things such as price, where I would sell the magazine, and the kind of paper it would be produced on. The advantages was also that Bubbleless is a web app. I could produce my work and my planning creatively. To produce my magazine, I used Photoshop to create my front cover. I found this software very useful as it allowed me to create and change different elements of my magazine, such as the text boxes, to go around my cover lines. Also, it did allow me to change my images as I could zoom in and change the colour of the image to make it look more realistic or verisimilitude. Photoshop also allowed me to create a preferred reading of indie pop because of the tools I could use in Photoshop. For example, on my double page spread, I used a black and white tool to change my picture of Joe, my model, to the black and white. This therefore allowed me to mediate the stereotypes and history of the indie music in being cheap based on its origins. Another software that I used to create my double page spread and contents page was InDesign. I did not find this as easy to use as Photoshop, as the layout of the software was hard to navigate around. However, an advantage to InDesign was I was able to use my guidelines to get my text and images all in proportion. I have also used WordPress, which I found useful to show my teacher all my work. On one space each lesson, I wrote a lesson objective and how I could achieve this lesson objective, as well as showing and backing up my work. This I found useful as I could show evidence of the work I have done. Also, another website / software that I found useful was SurveyMonkey. This was very useful to get peer feedback, to see the changes that I could make my magazine, such as the represents the genre, as they told me if I was on the right lines with my house colours and fonts that I have chosen to use, as well as the target audience. I would say that this did come in useful to my magazine pages as it allowed me to change the disadvantages and improve my pages for the better. One of the changes I decided to make was in Photoshop. This was making my text boxes look more pristine. I did this by fitting the text boxes to the exact same size, so there was no large gaps. I did this by clicking on the cursor, then clicking on the box, and wanted to manipulate. In this case, it was the 4 small black boxes. I clicked them and then a rectangle box would appear around the box. This then allowed me to make the box bigger or smaller depending on the text I wanted to wrap the text tight so it looked more professional.